Alright guys, I'm felling my forest today. The rest of these are coming down. They're gonna have these wire cages around them right here, extending up beyond the top of the stump. And then we have a straw shortage right now, so I'm gonna have to use wood chips and hope that works without like rotting them. I don't know, I'm not really happy. I'm gonna call around and see if I can find straw somewhere else, but the mulch is not nearly as free draining as the straw, and I don't think I can afford to buy burlap to stuff in these cages. But not all of the trees are cut back to the stump. This one I cut all the way down because the trunk is curved and had curved completely over and was getting too close to my roof on this little shed. So I cut it down to the nubbins to let it regrow a trunk next year, and I'm just actually gonna pile wood chips over the top of all of this. I have a couple of short little wire cages just like that, and I'm gonna kind of use those and pile in and around the cages. So hopefully they survive. Fingers crossed they make it. All right, so this is how I'm covering or gonna try and protect these for the winter. See, I have a big old bale of straw, and I'm gonna pack this probably not all the way to the top of the cage, but a good amount. And I've just loosely dropped clumps down in there, and it just sort of sits in the cage, as you can see, and hopefully will insulate them well. The stump under there, I've just gone ahead and covered. I put a bunch of branches to keep air gaps so it's not just like soggy, wet wood chips on it, rotting it. But it may not make it through the winter. I was okay with that. In fact, some of these or all of these might die, but I'm gonna do my best. As you can see, I cut them on a slight angle in hopes that water doesn't just pool on top. But I don't know if that is. Someone's outside yelling. It's that kind of neighborhood though, so that's why we're at the urban garden. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and keep stuff in these cages and hopefully finish before nightfall, and that way I can show the finished product and hopefully have them tucked into bed for the winter just in time for this freezing cold weather. It looks pretty interesting, and hopefully it'll hold up in the wind, but we'll find out about that too. This is all experimental stuff right here. It looks really weird back here to me. Just a bunch of straw columns. I guess if you didn't know what was in them, you'd never guess there were trees. But they're all tucked in bed for the winter. These beautiful hollyhocks. They're like so tall. It's like a forest of hollyhocks. And ooh, trip and fall. Anyway, I just have a little bit of mulch to get around the base of all of these trees to kind of shore up the column, but also kind of insulate the bottom of the trees more. I want to put as much insulation between their roots and that freezing temperature as possible. This is it for the winter. My little moringas all in their little straw hugs. Hopefully it's safe and sound for the winter. So it's pretty much done. As you can see, they all have a pretty good sized little skirt. You can see next to the tree that doesn't. I'm gonna try and just cover this with a sheet and see if it'll survive, if I can just frost protect it for the night. It's got a couple of these that I would like to protect, and hopefully it'll survive. Otherwise, my original plan was to chop it down by that bulbous area there and let it grow from the ground up again. And my ghost. All the rest of my trees are all tucked in, safe and sound. And hopefully this little resurrection tree over here will be fine under there. for the next 2 nights until it warms back up. So it's the next morning, and I uncovered this. Poor Casper doesn't look like it made it. This little tree has resurrected itself and survived the other cold temps in here, but I think it was because of the shelter provided by the other trees in addition to the block wall. I definitely don't think it's gonna make it above ground, that is, so I'm gonna try to keep it going in hopes that the 3 big drumsticks on it make it. But to be honest, I feel like they're starting to get kind of smushy and translucent. Sure sign of frost damage, so we'll see. I don't think the top of this tree is going to make it, but we'll see. We'll see. So while this little guy may not have made it above ground, the rest of these are nice and warm. You know, even with some challenging bends and twists in this one tree trunk, we managed to get them all in. I wish I had my point and shoot thermometer with me. I feel like this is like about 80 degrees or more, just touching it. In theory, all these hollow straws will heat up and trap and hold heat, kind of keep my little tree trunks warm and cozy overnight, so they feel like they're in a balmy, like 40-degree weather, hopefully, fingers crossed. And this one, if it doesn't bounce back, which I'm sure it's not, I will chop it down into the cage below that pile of mulch and just cover it over for the winter and let it grow back up. I'm going to show you what I had to do with this cage here. As you can see, if you look right here, it's got a strange zip tie mess here. And I had to do this a little different because this tree curves this way and then bends back this way. So we had to angle the wire with the direction of the tree here, and then put some wedges in here and zip tie around the wedge to lean it back this way so that the trunk wasn't rubbing right up on the cage. So if you looked at this one in the first video and wondered why it's like weird looking, that's why. Because we had to change the angle of the wire here. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. Yeah, this is how I put my moringa trees to sleep for the winter, and I'm gonna overwinter them. So if you live in zone 9 like me and you're looking for a way to safeguard trees through the winter and help kind of frost protect them and maybe be able to successfully grow trees that don't exactly belong in your climate, this is how I'm doing it. And hopefully in the spring, when the experiment's done, it'll kind of show whether or not it's going to work. But I definitely think it's going to work, or I wouldn't have done it. But so far so good. And yeah, just cross your fingers my trees make it. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.